All right, Ray, you just passed. How do you feel right now, man?
It's hard to describe, Scott. Extremely relieved and very, very chuffed with my achievements.
That's pretty good, dude. So you have a story. You did some things before the accelerator. Can you kind of describe like what you thought about the accelerator? Did it help you? How did it help you? And kind of talk me through that, if you will.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I tried to do this all on my own previously. Huge, used a huge amount of resources. I'd been through a boot camp some time ago, and thought I was doing it all the right way. Unfortunately, it didn't go that well. Although I thought I'd done all the hard work, the exam didn't turn out great the first time.
Yeah.
So I found you, I gave you a shout, and we linked up. And yeah, I think your process of just sort of going through things systematically, it works. Even if things are foreign, you get to a point where you can eliminate things that very quickly, and you sort of create yourself with a better scenario and making choices. And I think my biggest benefit out of your course, I think, is the community side of things. And also your flow video is number one, absolutely number one. To take everything and 700 and whatever pages of PM book and just mulling it into an hour, and that's the way life is, guys. So I think that was my biggest takeaway point. And yeah, I think it's just something. The context and the process is definitely what works.
That's awesome, man. So you took it in, you're in South Africa, you took it in an actual testing center.
Yeah.
How did you got your actual printout? How did you do? What were your scores?
The first time or the second time?
Yeah, that's good. Go the first time and now the
Yeah.
second. Compare first versus second.
I mean, to put it in perspective, I think it's important to put it the first time for anybody that's watching this. I mean, I studied. I studied day and night, weekends the first time. I got one target, all of the rest, and then a below target, and the rest were needed improvement. Like I really bombed out. This time around, I got three above targets, one target, and one strangely below target on a process I'm actually quite strong at. So I think I've obviously just mucked a few things up there. But yeah, it was a vast improvement. And from when I wrote the last time to writing it now, just that short period, totally using the accelerator, following everything, making the calls no matter what, pushing meetings aside and all that kind of thing to try and make those calls, because there's huge benefit in listening how people think about things. Even if you've seen the question, it's always different, and it just makes sure that you think about it, and just scratch out those really iffy type 50-50s and that kind of stuff.
That's awesome, man. That's great. You mentioned community, you mentioned the calls. Can you talk a little bit more about like what actually happens in the calls, if you would?
Yeah, so I mean, I was one of your parachuters dropping into a call because we were still busy. We just met, and you said, "Well, jump on a call."
Yeah.
And I had no idea what was going on. And basically, you go into a call. There's a number of other aspirant PMPers and a coach, and they just show you how to read everything, how to go through things. And it's okay to make a mistake because you learn from those. And you don't have to know everything 100%. There's a lot of that I battled with, that I had to know everything, especially because of my last experience. But there's a lot of talking, there's a lot of discussions and all that kind of stuff. And it's a safe environment to be wrong and to correct and to help. And I think that was just phenomenal. Doing it all on your own under these circumstances, COVID, all of a sudden working at home 24/7, having kids at home, probably not the greatest time to try and write this exam, but I mean, you need something to just guide you and to just show you through the process.
That's awesome, man. The biggest question that I get every day is, how do I know if I'm ready? Did you feel like you're ready, or did you know at some point, like, I think I'm ready, versus the first time? Did you feel ready the first time when you failed, and this time, was there any difference? And did you know this time that you were ready?
Yeah, massive difference. I mean, the first time I did it probably the wrong way around. I booked the exam and that was my target.
Yep.
This time around, my target was to understand, to get confidence up after failing it the first time. And I mean, yesterday I thought of studying. I actually watched your flow video once.
Okay.
one or two case things, and then I just said, I just closed and I just took the time to just calm and, just get my head ready. It's a 4-hour exam. It's extremely mentally challenging. So just took it easy and walked in this morning. Started off quite strong during the exam, and that just kind of set the scene. Wanted to just take my break and get in it again, and just to see what it's like at the end. Yeah, I felt good during this exam. Last time when I clicked the button, I just didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if I aced it. I didn't know if it was terrible. This time I knew I was on a good wicket.
That's nice. Great. Well, now you're an experienced project manager. You're doing great things out there. Like, do you look at your actual project work and the way you're proceeding with things any differently since you've gone through the course?
Yeah, I mean, I work in a we don't have OPAs and all that kind of stuff. I kind of am self-taught and all that kind of thing. There's no templates. There's no project management. Isn't a sort of hardcore sort of role. It's recognized, but it's more a technical type of setup. So I'm hoping to take this experience and build on that within the company so that our projects can be run better, and that people understand the importance, particularly in planning, right from the beginning, and risk, looking at risks and just getting all the people in the room and that kind of stuff. Not do it the other way around and just get the project and let's go, and then, oh dear, let's. So I'm hoping to take this now and to actually implement it and try and change things formally.
That's good. All right. That's really, really great. Now, you mentioned earlier that like I remember we threw like right into a call, like literally we met and I was like, hey, you want to go to a call like right now? And you said, okay. And we went through a call. What was it like the first time? You're going from like studying alone, being there, having not passed and kind of having that like down period to going into the call. Like what was going on in your brain at that point?
I mean, I'll be honest, it was quite nerve-wracking because you're expelling your thoughts and that kind of stuff. And after coming off of failing, you're like, am I going to get this totally wrong? And, but very, very quickly, the environment was quite accepting, if I can put it that way.
Yeah.
I kind of saw that there was a process already just from listening that, you go read this first and figure out where you are, all these things that, by the time I go to ask a question, I just mimicked that and it actually helped. I didn't even know that was a process. I mimicked what other people were doing. I figured that was an unwritten rule. So I just wasn't going to challenge the system right there and then on the first day. So yeah, I think it's just a very easy environment to engage in. And there's people from everywhere, it's just such a great sort of setup.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, we got a couple from South Africa. We got like all through Europe and the States, Canada, whatever. So that's cool. Now, like, as you went through, how did you're talking about being at home, having kids, doing all this stuff. How did you manage the study part of it, the watching the videos? Did you do nights, weekends, between me? Like, how did you manage your life and actually get the stuff done?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of did still what I did before we met, and I was really, I made the sort of assertion that what I'd done in the past was not lost, but what I needed to do is to try and figure out what to do with what I've learned.
Yes.
And I quickly started realizing that when I was going through your course, you'd obviously figured out these important things that you just got to focus on, not every single letter of the law in terms of the PMBOK and all that kind of thing. And you focus on really particular things. And I worked mostly, full days on the weekends, a Saturday and Sunday. Fridays was my off day. I spent some time with the family, and most nights 1 to 2 hours, Monday to Thursday. And then if I had a gap somewhere, I'd fiddle with your flashcards on my phone if I was waiting for something and all that kind of stuff. So I just kept it in my head the whole time, kept thinking like that, sort of, not letting my guard down, to try and think of things. And so that's basically how I did it. Yeah.
That makes sense. And I don't know the exact, I think I know the exact date, but it was only about what, how long were you in from the beginning?
I think we spoke on the 20th of last month. No, so I wrote beginning of July. That week I contacted you. The week later we spoke. So, I mean, we probably about a month a month,
Yeah.
give or take, since I started engaging with with the accelerator and your coaches and that, and yourself.
Yeah.
That's about a month, but I booked my exam 2 weeks ago. And the only reason I booked 2 weeks ago, because I was in learning center and I wanted to write early in the morning and not late in the afternoon.
Very true.
Yeah, it's just good to be fresh in the morning.
I think so. I think that's a really good point. Like they say that doctors make more mistakes in the afternoon than the morning.
Yeah.
So don't get a surgery in the afternoon. Yeah. So that's great. You knew how you were ready to go. It only took a month to turn it around. And honestly, like, I think you were ready before then, because we even had a conversation about, we're a week and a half out. What are we going to do? Like, yeah. And that worried me a little bit. Like, it always worries me that, like, you're ready to go. Let's get it over with and do it. So yeah, that's that. How did you deal with that last week and a half to keep yourself organized and ready to go?
Yeah, I think, I just thought, I'd done the simulations, but only according to the accelerator.
Yep.
And then I hadn't done the one at the end, the big final exam. So I figured, I'd been through the coursework. I've done some studying before the accelerator. I'm going to now focus on exams and the random ones. And then whatever I got wrong, I reorganized my evaporation dump. And then I put that in. So after every single exam or every single test that I took, I had a dump. I had the evaporation data, and then I went in and looked at all those aspects before I did another test. So I was just, evaporating things as I was going along, and I was just really using the simulators. And largely, a lot of the case studies you don't realize because you watch them right in the beginning how there's certain nuances in the case studies that help tremendously. So I started watching the case studies again over the last sort of week and a half, and there's just the a real person environment kind of thing as part of those case studies, which I picked up quite quickly. So that's kind of what I did, focus on the accelerator, focus on what I didn't recall or I had confusion, and then case studies.
Okay, cool. Two things you mentioned. Love it. You mentioned case studies and the evaporating data dump. I want to talk about each of them separately. Like, so, the guy, John, in the case stories, he actually works for us now. So, like, the guy who inspired me to write that, talk me through kind of what the case stories are for anybody that doesn't know, and like, just talk me through that and what it goes through and how to help you.
Sure. So, the case stories are, in my opinion, less academic. They are real life situations. Putting somebody in who's not experienced, has maybe been self-taught, and that kind of landing up in a situation, and how he works his way through that, and what the importance is in creating an environment that is geared to getting your project over the line. I just think the case studies were real time. I don't know how better to describe that. It was putting you in the scenario, and it worked through all the aspects of what do you do, where do you start, who do you talk to, what are risks, how do you identify them, who are the guys you go to if it's not your expertise, and all that kind of stuff, and how important your engagement is with your stakeholders right the way to the end. So for me, I visualized myself in those situations because I came from no technical project management background. I was self-taught. I got thrown in there and just, kind of had to bump my head a lot. And it was like, oh, I can relate. Okay, cool. Like, would have been nice to have these guys around me when I did it, but it just makes it real. It makes it, just really, really real.
That's cool, man. Yeah. And I come from a similar kind of background as you, as like figure it out, never really went to project management school or anything. So all those stories are vaguely interpreted from my own life of like making a lot of mistakes, getting thrown in there like we all have been. And so have you ever had a crazy boss like Action Jackson or whatever in the front? Like, that's like, hey, here's a project, do it, finish it tomorrow, those kind of things?
Absolutely. Maybe not even a project, just a task within, all of a sudden just coming out of everywhere. Those kind of situations are going to happen no matter how your organization is set up. And And I think I'm way more prepared to push back now with reason to say like, cool, I'll do it. I can do it. However, this and that and that and that then's going to have to get pushed aside if I'm going to give you what you need for this.
Yeah.
So it's just, it really just puts perspective into how important it is to just also understand how things are going to affect other things and how you're going to be affected by it to give your best.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of the things, like, as I was writing it, as a little bit therapy first, I was trying to teach myself, but it was a little therapy for me to say, like when I had conflict, which you're talking about, and would initially go, yes, sir, ma'am, I'll do it and whatever, seeing that like it might have got me through the day with that person, but really I wasn't serving them well. I couldn't push, one thing, I couldn't serve them well because I was like being sheepish and doing it and setting us up for big failure. And then they'd come back at me and yell at me again. So I got yelled at on both sides. But even though then I got to the other side about pushing too far back against them, that didn't go well. And so there's like this art in like how much you push back, doing it and like learning in little chunks and teaching up and still respectful that you don't know the whole story. So it's tough, this life.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's cool.
But I think part of this whole experience for me was, don't just do something. Have a reason for doing it. So if you want to push back, why are you pushing back? Understand why you need to push back. If you can't do something or you need to do something or push somebody else, you just got to know why it's happening, not just categorically just accept and just do.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the things, and that really came out of just talking in the groups and speaking to a few people and the coaches. It's all okay. Make mistakes. Just, don't ignore them. Just deal with them.
Yeah, let's deal with it now. And I think it's cool, like in the calls, because, you and me and Promise and some other people met in the mornings. It was good to like hear the different perspectives, and then you guys could kind of coach each other. A lot of my job is just get you in the thing, keep the rails on, and then let you coach each other a little bit and then bring it up. So I think that's really, really effective.
I agree.
Yeah. So you mentioned the evaporating data dump. The first time you did it, did you do a regular data dump? And, what was that different than the evaporating data dump? Talk me through that.
The first time I memorized all 48 processes, where they were. I drew that out before I did my exam.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've got 12 equations. I memorized all the other ones as well. Wrote them down. I'm trying to think what else I did then. But yeah, I had a literary data dump. Today, I didn't have a data dump. I had nothing. I started thinking of putting down your template, your EVM template. Didn't do it. And then in the middle of the exam, I started getting a whole lot of questions which I was just getting a bit confused with. So I drew the risk funnel, and that sorted it out very quickly. So just a few things. But as I got into the exam, I just went straight into it. No data dump, nothing like that. Just felt confident, felt I understood the flows, felt I understood enough about the itos and the outputs logically, not memorizing, just logically. If you're going to do this, it's going to affect this, that's going to come around again. And that was enough for me to be confident, just fly right into the exam.
That's awesome. That's really good. And you said like understanding and logic and all the flows, that's super important. Now, as to get up to that point, you said you did use an evaporating data dump during the study process. Like, is that correct? And like, what was the process like of using that? How did it help?
Yeah. So, I mean, I followed the letter of the law on the day one, read the, we downloaded the files, and there was an evaporating data dump. The way I perceived it was, as you're going along, something you haven't done, recognize a term or a this or a that, start writing it down. And every single day, well, I tried every single day. Obviously, I had to be quite agile in my days.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I got to it when I got to it, So I had that through the day. Some days I couldn't get to it, but I just told myself that's fine. Yep. I'll get to it. But by the time we got to day 7, I kind of closed that chapter of the dumps. Mm-hmm. And then I started again when I started using the simulator. Anything that I got wrong, I dumped that. New terms on questions that I hadn't used. And I think that's where I got a lot of benefit in the last couple of weeks. I didn't go intensely into the simulators a lot during the 7 days, only right at the end. So it gave me access to most of the 1,200 plus, questions. It wasn't a lot of repetition that I had. Yep. Just kind of doing it fresh every time. So I think that helped also. I think, it's good to leave that to right to the end, just to get your head around things. So you don't get a bit, I guess, too confident when you're seeing the same thing the whole time. You lose the benefit in the simulator, I think, if you
Right.
overdo
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. That's a good point. All right. So this is really great. Now there are people out there that are like you, like they've failed it before. They did their darndest. They put the work in the first time, but they just boom, didn't do well. Now, and their experience like you are, they need to get this for their job or career or themselves and family. For those people out there that might be seeing themselves in you, what would you recommend like their next steps be? How should they proceed and what do you want them to know?
I think once you've made the decision to get a PMP, just realize that it's what I've been through the credentials and things, and in my career and that kind of stuff. It is something that you need to work towards, and it is something that it takes a lot of work. And if you're not in an environment that is like the PM book describes life, it is hard to just get your head around it right from the beginning. But you get there. And if you just keep going, it's like running a race. You don't worry about all 42 Ks or something like that. You just want to try and you make a mark. Every 5K is a bit, and I'll chip a bit out of that, and I'll chip a bit out of that. And by the time you get to the end, you haven't focused on that huge milestone at the end. You've just broken it down into a lot easier steps, and just do that. And I think the biggest, I wouldn't say mistake, but I guess maybe a mistake that I made that I think I would have done differently before is, besides using your course, is I would not book the exam and then study. I would study, feel ready, and then book the exam, because that added pressure on working towards something that you actually don't know where you need to be before you're ready for that was hugely stressful. So yeah, I mean, if people have the opportunity, I really would recommend, the 7-day accelerator, particularly if you've been through a process of studying and failing, that you haven't lost that information. It's there. You just don't know what to do with it. And that's from my personal experience. And you just need a couple of tweaks and you'll be on it. But it still takes hard work. The 7-day accelerator was by no means a breeze. And which I appreciated, because it wasn't a cop-out. It was hard work. And you had to stay focused, and the calls, you had to make them. If you didn't make a call, you lost out, I believe.
Yep.
So yeah, I think it's it was really now that I sit here now, I don't regret anything. I would have loved to pass the first time, but I've met a couple of people through this process, which I'm hoping to keep contact with. Keep part of that environment and just see where that goes.
I love it. That's really good. Couldn't have said it better myself, man. So we're really proud of you, Ray. You did a bunch of great work, and I love a good like bounce back story. And so, you had something down, but you bounced up from it, and you took a great approach that like, hey, the information's inside of me. I just need to pull off some of it, align the rest of it, get that confidence up, get the support, understand some things that might be missing. Once you did that, it was over. And I think you were there about 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks maybe.
Yeah.
And the results speak for themselves to go from way low to way high. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate it, Ray.
I appreciate your your support and the coaches' support and the community. It made a difference. It was a big part, and I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. All right. Well, you said barbecue. I know barbecue, but what do you call it? What do they call it in South Africa?
It's called a braai.
A braai. All right. So I'm on board with barbecue, regardless of country or whatever. So when this COVID thing's over, who knows? I might come down and hit a braai with you. So we'll see how it goes.
That'll be awesome.
That'll be man.
Cool.
All right. Yes, sir. Talk to you later. Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
See you, Ray. Right.
Bye.